And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Drop the Gloves podcast again. And I brought a special guest with me, Shannon from the Slapshot Sweethearts podcast. How are you, Shannon? No problem at all. Now, two heartbreakers back to back, the Celtics and the Bruins. Although both did show fight, still ending up in the L column for the two of them. Let's talk about the game. So, there was, talk about up and down Jekyll and Hyde play for the Bruins. It was back and forth. They at times they showed that they could skate with the best of them, and then at times they just, even the best players on the team, Bergie was getting spun around. It just did not look good.
Yeah, they had 22 shots on goal in the first period, and I was making dinner. I wasn't even sitting in front of the TV, and I was like, we're set. Like, I don't need to worry at all. And then out of nowhere, they were down 3-0, and I was like, well, crap. Like, what are they doing? They just lost control of the game, and it just shows how quickly they lose control when they're not focused.
Yeah, it doesn't, like you just said, it does, especially them being as young as they are. They lose it for four minutes at a time, 6 minutes at a time in one period, and it crushes them. It crushes all that momentum, and it takes it takes it right out of them. And you can tell that even though those first top two lines, they lean on them so heavy when they get down 2 goals, they have to. They don't have a choice because the depth for them, I think it can be there, but it hasn't. Those bottom 2 lines haven't. I think they haven't developed enough to game speed with them is still an issue.
Yeah, and I don't know what to blame beyond their youth. Like you said, Bergeron is not looking his best, and Pasternak's back now, so I'm hoping that the first line can get a little bit more momentum under their feet once Pasternak gets, his skates going again. He looked a little rusty last night, but their lack of focus, I guess it's immaturity, but it's significant. It's really significant. And I can't figure out what, maybe it's because they don't have fans, but I feel like that excuse is getting old. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's other teams. Vegas doesn't have fans, and they're probably they're probably the best team in the league right now, and they don't have fans. They don't have fans
coaches either. So
yeah, but it's no, I agree. It's I wonder where you draw the line between immaturity between the immaturity and you're a professional hockey player. You still have to play at that level. You're a professional. Like when do we draw that line between immaturity and like, all right, guys, it's time to step up?
Yeah. And, I think a lot of that is because they did lose Chara and Krug and that leadership on the blue line, and Kevin Miller, I guess kind of fills that role, but not that significantly. And Cassidy is doing a lot of line tinkering on the blue line, and I don't think that he's giving them quite an opportunity for them to necessarily build that chemistry and fill out, who's gonna step up here and there if they can't play with each other and kind of establish those roles.
For more than like 2 games at a time. Right. It seems like it does. It seems like the first 2 lines are usually set. They may rotate one guy in and out of there. They may rotate a wing, whoever they want to put for a matchup. I think Cassidy tends to go more of a matchup. He'll rotate 1 or 2 of those wings in and out, bring a guy up or something, depending on how the matchup goes for the game. But those outside of that, it's been tough to kind of like you said, the chemistry with these young kids is clearly going to be a problem until they can figure it out. But with the shortened season, that's, every loss is magnified along with every win. You gotta, even the points, if you don't win the game, but you take it to OT and you still
I was going to say they're giving away points on points, taking these games to overtime. They let the Capitals win. I guess they ranked in a point going to overtime, but they let the Capitals win. They took that game. The game was in overtime for 5 seconds. They could they rank in a point, but all these games that are going to overtime, you're giving away an extra point. You're giving away an extra point here and there, and it's adding up. It wasn't adding up at the beginning, but The Flyers went to overtime last night. The Penguins went to overtime last night. We went to overtime. All those extra points at the top of the East are really starting to screw with the top four and how that's going to stack up.
And so it's funny you mentioned the Penguins, like the realigned divisions too. The Bruins have been placed in a very tough division. The Islanders are no joke. The Penguins are no joke. The Flyers are, all of those teams. The teams that are in their division are fast. They can shoot, and they play really good D. It's all of those teams are solid in all three phases of hockey, and it's just going to make their life even tougher.
Yeah, especially when they do give up those 5 minutes of consistency. It takes, like you said, a minute for Sidney Crosby to just destroy your momentum in a game if we're playing the Penguins and our blue line is not focused and our young core is not focused. And I do think that part of the game last night with our lack of focus is obviously we were up against Chara, and that is going to screw with a lot of the defense in particular's mental stability when, a lot of these guys were looking up to Chara last year as a leader for the last few years as prospects, and seeing him on the other side of the ice is going to, mess with your head.
That was really weird seeing that Capitals jersey with Chara. It was weird. It was. I'm gonna have to get used to that for a while.
As I live in Washington D.C. now, so I have seen him in the jersey a couple times since those are the ones I get on cable. But it's never gonna look right. It's never gonna look good. Like, I'm never gonna say, "Oh, he looks good with a Capital One logo on him." Like, that's not.
No, it's and let's kind of just dive right into that real the red line. The place where I think Krug shined the most was his red line play, the ability to make a solid pass up the ice and generate it, or at least jumpstart that, the play going through the neutral zone. He was by like John had said it before, like by 10 miles, he was the most offensive defenseman they had. And you take that element out of the Bruins style of play, that is a massive void to have to fill that. And McAvoy is trying, but at times it's just, I don't think he sees the ice as good as Krug did. He doesn't see the ice as good as Krug did.
No, he doesn't have the hockey IQ in that regard that Krug did. And I think one of the big things, like you said, he was our best offensive defenseman and our best defensive offenseman, is slacking a bit as well. So that versatility, switching back and forth from offense to defense, is really lacking right now when Bergeron can't get back on ice and is letting goals go like he did last night. And we don't have Krug anymore to turn the play around when we get possession back and move down the ice. It's really swapping back and forth and keeping possession and maintaining possession and maintaining momentum down the ice is really lacking right now. And that's, where the momentum is really dying down and the chemistry is really dying down when, you're just skating back and forth trying to get the puck back and we can't get the game turned around.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. And we talked about it before off camera, that just the young kids just getting spun around a lot on the ice. And the play, at least from what I've been seeing up to this point, getting the puck out up into the neutral zone and then making a solid pass from the neutral zone to set that rush, the initial rush up has been like pulling teeth for them.
Yeah.
Because to generate, their 5-on-5 scoring so far has been, it's been rough. It's been awful. And I think a lot of it is they get met, like teams are meeting them pretty much not even before they get to the other blue line. They're meeting them in the neutral zone right up. And a lot of these teams are even playing pressure D where they're at the Bruin blue line. They have all their defensemen up at the Bruin blue line. They're not even going back into their own zone because they know that the Bruins, that they can see that they're having trouble pushing the issue up the ice. And when you have a team like that, why not set your defenseman up? Why not if you can cut the rink in half that easily, that makes it a nightmare for the other team on the offensive end.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that, I've seen it not only against the Capitals, but against the Penguins and the Flyers as well, that defenses were taking advantage of the fact that the Bruins can't consistently get the puck down into the other end. And so once you get to the neutral zone, it's an issue. And, that's going to really screw with their consistency, and it's wearing down on them. They can't, I was making a joke on Twitter the other day. They are only scoring off of rough bounces. There's no clean shots anymore. When I saw Char's goal on, was it Wednesday night? Whenever he got his first goal, I was like, wow, that was such a clean shot. I miss those. I miss those as a Bruins fan, because we're not seeing, those clean, deep goals anymore. It's just whatever messy bounces.
I don't think I've seen them hit a shot from the top of the circle or the high slot in, since the first or second game that they just those wide, generate those open shots, those one-timers from the top of the circle, from the high slot that Pastrnak and some of these guys are known for, just especially Krug. His shot is that high slot, that high slot shot. It just seems like to get a clean look for them has been brutal. It's been like they cannot get a clean look. And like you said, they have to crash the net and just hope for a rebound and a ricochet.
Yeah. And it's funny that Marchand is still scoring shorthanded goals when we can't get a 5-on-5 goal, but that's just what he's known for. So
he's like the Julian Edelman of the Bruins. It's just that guy that just is willing to just pester you all game. I love the motor. You know what I mean? The motor and the effort from him is all there. But these young kids they've got to develop. They have to help these other guys out, because we've seen it before. I've seen it before in the past where they lean on that veteran line so much during the regular season. When they get into the when they made their last cup run last year, a couple of years ago, even last year, when they were trying to get through Tampa, they were gassed. By that third period, they were gassed. They had nothing. To skate with some of these Tampa they have built a monster over there in Tampa and in Vegas, because they are big, they are fast, and they can shoot from anywhere on the ice, and it's dangerous. And especially with the team, the way the team's built now, these young kids having to skate with some of these guys, it's scary.
Yeah, Tampa is nothing to be underestimating. And I have been someone who's underestimated them in the past, and especially, with them playing the Central Division now, which is not only getting games canceled left and right because of COVID-19 protocol, but the competition in that division is very underwhelming. So it's going to be hard to really gauge if Tampa's bringing that competitiveness back like they have in the past, or if they're just playing, insignificant competitors until we get to the playoffs, assuming that Tampa gets there. I think that's a safe assumption to make. But, I think the same thing can be said for Toronto, who's a consistent competitor of the Bruins as well. They're absolutely walking all over the North Division. And then we're going to get to the playoffs, assuming the Bruins make it there as well, and how they're going to match up against their consistent opponents like Toronto and Tampa, the way that they're playing this year in comparison to how Toronto and Tampa are playing.
Because to be honest that is my biggest concern this season, is that them with the young kids that they're trying to, mold into the veteran. They're going to lean on that top two lines so much that by the time we get to the playoffs and we need them to be 110% every game, but by the third period of some of these, let's say they get into these deep playoff, these deep games where they're 4 games in, 3 or 4 games in, they're going to be gassed. They have nothing left.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one bright spot is that the fourth line has looked really good right now. And Trent Frederick is, playing much better than anyone expected him to, even though Tom Wilson was going at him last night for Lord knows what reason besides just to be annoying. But I think maybe not the shot output that we're looking for, but at least the consistency on the ice isn't bad right now from the third and fourth line.
Yeah, no, one of the guys who's actually surprised me with the play as of late for the Bruins, two of them actually. Frederick has played really much better than I expected.
Yeah.
And then Bjork has actually played really good. I think he's done way better than I expected him to be at right now, because I kind of set the expectations low. So when he overachieves, it's a little better. But I haven't seen too many negative plays out of him, and the effort has been in for at least the last 3 games. I think the motor and the effort has been there with him, and I like that.
Yeah, I think you could say that about a couple of the young guys on the offensive side, at least. I think maybe it's just because Bruins fans are really concerned about the young core on the defensive side that we're, in panic mode at the moment. But I mean, yeah. I think there's definitely hope there. That's, all hope isn't lost. It's just trying to go from, a Chara, Krug, McAvoy led defensive core to now McAvoy and Brandon Carlo and X number of young guys from Providence, and trying to figure out if we can still be a President's Trophy team the way that we're playing right now, which is not nearly the same momentum as it was last year.
Carlo's interesting because he has shown flashes of playing that he can play really good. And I mean like really good. And then the next line that he'll play 2 shifts really well, and then he'll play 2 shifts where he'll get spun around and there'll be a 2-on-3 the other direction, because of him, because he loses the puck off his stick, and because I don't think he's good with the puck in his hands. I think he's I don't want to call him that kind of enforcer, but like
his body positioning is really important. I don't think that he's one that's about to go consistent scoring from the blue line, but how he positions his body on the defense is pretty important.
Yeah, I agree. So I have some power rankings here from NHL.com. Let me pull them up. So this is from NHL.com, and I want to read you off. I'll read you the top 10, and we'll start from 10 going down. So 10 is the Philadelphia Flyers, 9 is the Winnipeg Jets, 8 is the Carolina Hurricanes, 7 is the Washington Capitals. The Bruins are put at 6. The Maple Leafs are at 5. The Canadiens at 4. Tampa Bay at 3. Colorado at 2. And the Golden Knights are at 1. Now, there's a few reaches in there, but I'll let you tell me what you think.
Colorado at 2 is definitely a reach. They have not shown enough consistency to be right behind Vegas at all. And I don't think that not putting an East team at 2 is fair in any way, considering how competitive the division is. I think the losses that the East are taking is because they're playing each other.
Each other. Yeah, you're playing perennial like cup contenders on a nightly basis.
Right. Whereas the Golden Knights, who look absolutely incredible, are only playing Colorado as a competitive team.
No, I 100% agree. Now, do you agree with the Bruins at 6? Would you place them higher or lower?
I mean, I appreciate that they were as high as they were. You said the Flyers were 10th?
Hold on. Let me recheck that. Philadelphia was at 10, yes.
I mean, I think the way that Philadelphia looks right now, that's good. But, I mean, I still think that's a little low for an East team.
Yeah. I had them at 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they took a bad loss to the Islanders, and they didn't look up, but that was at least a week ago.
And I think that loss to the Islanders, Cassidy was still tinkering. He didn't really know who fit. They went on that stretch.
The Flyers, but yeah, we took a loss to the Islanders too. And I think that says more about how the Islanders are playing than it says about either the Flyers or the Bruins.
Oh, no. See, I thought you were talking about that when the Bruins lost to the Islanders, they were still kind of in that tinkering stage with.
They're always in the tinkering stage.
Yeah, no, that's true. They're probably going to be halfway through the season and still tinkering around.
Yeah.
But I would put the Bruins like I don't understand. I don't know. Washington at 6 was kind of that I would put them maybe eight or nine, closer to that top 10.
I mean,
Winnipeg in there to me is a reach.
Part of the problem with Washington is that they've been missing 4 of their key players for the last week because they were in COVID protocol because they had a party. So
yeah, they were. I know they were missing a lot of the talent.
Yeah, it's not a fair representation of how they're actually going to be playing. I think this week, if they get Vanacek has looked fantastic in goal for the Capitals, even though he is supposed to be their backup to Samsonov. So, I mean, if they can get better than they are right now, I'm going to be a little worried in the East. But
now, this is kind of a hot button topic for some Bruins fans, but I want to get your opinion. We'll jump back to the Bruins now for right now. What do you think about Rask?
It is a hot button topic.
What do you think about Tuukka Rask? I'll let you give your thoughts, and then I'll tell you mine, because I tend to poke and prod the bear a little bit more, so mine might be a little more negative.
I don't think that he is like the goalie of like the decade. I don't think that he deserves quite as much praise as he gets. He's had fantastic years and he's had incredibly average years. I am really frustrated at how much heat he gets for leaving the bubble last year because he went to go take care of his daughter. That's fine. I don't care. Halak is a fine goalie. I think part of the reason that I don't want to give Rask as much praise as he quote unquote deserves is because he only functions well in a 2 goalie situation. Mm-hmm. He does not function well if he has to play more than 55 games, and he drops bad losses. I think he does really well when he does split games when it was Khudobin, when it was Halak, whatever, or is Halak. But if he has to play more games, he drops bad ones. He lets bad losses go. I think last night he let in a goal or 2 that he probably could have saved.
The second one was a really soft goal. That second one was on him. I think it was either the second or one of them was I forget which one it was, but one of them, I think it was the second that it was really soft. The one that was like the where they shot it from the high slot or the top of the circle there. That was, I don't know. I just that's frustrating. Look. I just, all right. So here's what I have to say. Can he show great flashes of talent and just the ability to stand on his head and make saves that not a lot of goalies in this league can make? Absolutely. We've seen him do it. He can do it. The problem with him throughout his entire Bruins tenure has been the consistency. And the stamina. Those are the two biggest things.
He has no stamina.
Those are the 2 biggest things. All of these these cup contending goalies, Binnington, but Bobrovsky, these goalies that on he's just on a different. I think he's that second tier. You bring him down to that second tier level because
still a very elite tier. But I think Rask, in terms of stamina, both physically and mentally, struggles in Game 7 against Binnington. Rask was not mentally equipped to make it through a 7-game Stanley Cup series the same way that Binnington was, and I think that says a lot about Rask's ability to take a team to a Stanley Cup run if he can't make it through an entire playoff series or an entire playoff run the same way that Binnington did, especially for a team like the Blues, who was much worse off in terms of roster.
We should have won the cup that year. We should have beat St. Louis. That year was set up perfectly for the Bruins. They eliminated all their competition. The toughest teams were out of it that they were ever going to face, and they matched up well against St. Louis. They did. They matched up well against them.
Game 7 was not entirely Rask's fault in any way. The Bruins did not show up for that game. However,
no, their offense. They might as well not even get off the plane because it was not good. And I am with you on that. I as much as I love the Bruins, I don't know. I really have my doubts about Rask taking them to a cup. He's not going to be the reason they win the cup. That's what I'm going to say. He won't be the reason.
Part of it, there is so much talk about him retiring after this year, and I think that says a lot about his
mental
his tenure as a goalie. He was good. He has a Stanley Cup with the Bruins, but he wasn't the starter then. He brought them through a variety of cup runs. They didn't win. He has I don't know if he won a Vezina, but he's been nominated a couple times.
I think he did. I think he did win one. I think he won one.
He's an incredible goalie, but his stamina lacks. His mental focus lacks in critical games, which is a huge detriment to the Bruins. And I don't think that if they do win this year, he will be, like you said, the reason that they do it. And the fact that people are talking about him retiring at 33 says a lot about where he mentally is in his career. I don't think that it's not one of those like, oh, I want to win and then retire. It's like, oh, well, like, we'll see how this year goes, and I'm probably not going to resign. Like, I'm probably just going to hang it up. Like, it's, in my mind, the way that he's approaching the rest of his career is like not beneficial to the Bruins.
I don't think it's been beneficial to Boston for the last 3 seasons. I think he's just mentally, like, I don't want to say soft, because he can get locked in when he needs to, but it's
he's not mentally soft. It's not like a consistent issue. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like there are some games when I look at him, like, are you even like playing hockey? Like, are you in goal?
Oh, it's incredibly frustrating, because like I'll find myself just being like, just give me Halak. Like, just give me Halak. I know what I'm going to get with him on a nightly basis.
Yeah, Halak is consistent, and it's not the best hockey, but it's consistent.
That's what I mean. I would rather roll with that consistency and know what I'm going to get on a nightly basis, and just work around that. At least as a coach, that's how I would feel, because the inconsistency and the unknown is what that's how you lose games. If you don't, it's with he's just been that 2013 collapse will never I'll never live that down. That should have been our cup that year against Chicago. We had that, and he let that one slip away too. It's the inconsistency in big moments that have plagued him for his entire career. He has to, if he wants to get that reputation off his back, then he's going to have to do something about it, because it's nobody else can do anything about it but him. No one. And
it's not a lack of natural talent either. And I think that's where the controversy lies within Bruins fans, is people say, he's talented. It's not his fault. But there's a difference between natural talent and an ability to apply it in a game. And a lot of that is the mental part, which is where he struggles.
Yeah. I've said that for years, that the guy is the talent there is phenomenal. He does like he has the ability to stand on his head and make saves that not a lot of goalies in this league can do. It's getting him to do it on a nightly basis. That's always been the problem. And like you said, I 100% agree with you, where it's, if you ask him to play over 50 games, by the time you get to the playoffs, there's nothing left. There's nothing left.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think one of the biggest things is going to be, what if he doesn't resign, what do the Bruins do in goal? They didn't, it was a big goalie lottery this year, and the Bruins didn't want to play, but the Bruins never want to play in free agency, so that doesn't surprise me. But are they gonna try to draft someone? They don't have a ton of depth at goal in Providence.
And I think that's part of the reason why they're just kind of riding this thing out with Rask, because do they believe in Halak? Yeah, but do they think he's on Rask's level when it comes to raw talent? I highly doubt that. And I think that they don't really have, they don't really have any other choice but to just kind of roll with how it is. But if he does retire at the end of this season, they're up a creek at that position. They can go with Halak, but Halak is a vet. He's getting up there in age too.
I believe he's 36, 35 or 36.
I think he's 30. I think he's actually turning 37 this year, I think.
yeah, it's that is not where I want to build my goalie situation around.
And they had an opportunity to chase some of these high end, some of these high end goalies in the offseason, and they let it, like usual. I mean, Bruins don't usually do much in free agency.
Yeah, we were just talking about that on my podcast, Slapshot Sweethearts, and we had a whole discussion about how the Bruins consistently fail at both the trade deadline and free agency in terms of landing big names. They never want to market or sell themselves as a destination. They always go for short-term options, and some guys like Charlie Coyle work out. That's great. They traded him. They wanted him to be a short-term solution, and it ended up being a really great option. However, that usually doesn't work when you just want to grab a quick guy. And I think the last time they tried to land someone in terms of a quote-unquote big name was David Backes, and look how that worked out. Like, they never want to, really say to those big names that are on the market, come to us, we're going to win a cup. We are the next contender.
So it's funny you brought that up, because Boston teams and a lot of Boston fans tend to have those like Bruin goggles or whatever team it is, the goggles on. And it's like, you can't overvalue a player. And I think that's what gets the Bruins a lot, is they overvalue a lot of these guys, and they sign them to these contracts that just end up, 3 years down the line, it ends up really hurting them. And I think we're at a point now where the team got old, and it got old fast,
Yeah.
Like we turned a corner like 2 seasons ago. And I think it's just like the upper management has been I don't know if they know how to really, they've never had to really, lock in on the draft and focus and deal with it. You know what I mean? And now they have to.
Some drafts in the last few years. So like, if they don't really focus in the next draft or so and really consider who they draft, they're going to enter a rebuild. And I don't think that they realize that they're going to lose the potential they have with, the top line and a half and the top, Charlie Coyle and those guys, or not Charlie Coyle, excuse me, Charlie McAvoy, and those guys that they can really build around if they don't land a name or two and really draft strategically.
Yeah. And it's just like, I truly believe that the upper, like the team got old, and it got old fast on them. And I think upper management wasn't expecting it to happen so quick, but like the top line's getting old. Their window for winning a cup with that line, I think, is 2 seasons, this one and next one. And if they don't do if they don't do it this season and next season, that top, they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna have to, not gonna have a choice. They're gonna have to enter a full rebuild, and that's having to go rebuild. Rebuild mode is not easy to do, and it's not gonna, it's not an easy process to have to hit on the draft for 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah, and I don't know a ton about the prospects coming in the next draft, but like I said, the Bruins have not been good. The Pasternak was pure luck. That was not something that they were doing strategically. They have blown draft picks in the last 5 years.
And I mean, here, okay. Once again, I'm going to repeat, I love the Bruins. They're my team. David Pasternak drives me up a wall, because the zero defensive ability with him drives me crazy sometimes, because I will see guys skate right by him, and all he has to do is put the stick out just to slow him down.
He does the same thing though. He's a shooting machine, but he's physically incapable of playing any other portion of hockey.
And yeah, there's no other. You get like Pasternak's, one-timer is unbelievable. It's incredible. If he's set up right, it's unstoppable. His shot is phenomenal. It's a thing of beauty. But all he would have to do some of these times is just put the stick out, like just slow him down enough so that, so your guys can get back, and get set up.
Yeah.
And I've seen him get spun around so much that it drives me nuts. But but he's one of those guys where you need him on the ice for the offensive ability that he brings.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, we had Dale Arnold on our podcast a few weeks ago, just before the season was starting. We were discussing Chara leaving and Bergeron, taking the reign in terms of the captainship and the leadership that was coming up in the locker room. And Dale was saying that Pastrnak doesn't have a ton of ability in terms of obviously the defensive side of the game, but also the leadership side on the team. And I thought that was interesting because he plays so much like Ovechkin, and Ovechkin's the captain, but Dale was like, I don't ever see him being a captain because he's so focused on that skill side of the game that he's not going to be that leader in the locker room that guys are looking up to. He's going to be that skill player. And I found it really interesting thinking about other guys in the league that play like that and comparing.
That have a similar style of play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no, I 100% agree about that leadership thing. I don't think I could ever see Pasta be. He's more of a guy he puts his head down, he does what he does, and then he goes to work, does his thing, and then goes home. And that's just him. And like Bergie's he's like he's just the heart and soul. Like it's a different thing with him. He's the heart and soul of the team. He's the guy that they look to in the locker. He's been the realistic captain now for probably 5 or 6 seasons. Char is another. He's like that blue collar, hard hat guy. You put he's the lead. Chara was the lead by example. Put your head down, ignore the noise, go play hockey, do what you do, and just ignore the noise around you. And that's what he was best at, just telling these guys, just ignore the noise around you and do what you do,
Yeah, I completely agree. We were actually discussing again with Dale how Bergeron was going to, fit into that role. And they hadn't officially named Bergeron the captain yet, but everyone knew it was going to be Bergeron. And he was like, there's not going to be a ton of change. He was more interested in what they were going to do with the A's on the sweater because last season and the prior seasons, they had Marchand and Krejci sharing them home and away. And so Dale was hoping that they were going to do that with either Marchand or Krejci sharing one with McAvoy and doing home and away so that McAvoy could kind of step up into that pseudo leadership role. And hopefully, even though he's doing it right now informally with the blue line, since only he and Kevin Miller are really taking on that leadership side, he was hoping that it would more formally bring in a leadership body on the blue line.
I like that. McAvoy, I think I like his style of play. I like his attitude. I like the way he conduct. Yeah, like that. I think that would be good for him, mentally as well too, because it would mean that they're like the Bruins. One of the things that really gets a lot of, I think gets a lot of flake in Bruins Nation is the commitment to players. I think at times is criticized, and I think them giving a young kid like McAvoy an opportunity, it would be like them a passing of the torch and being like, all right, kid, like, we really believe in you. And, here's, we're going to put the A on you. We're going to put the A on you and let you, and, just let you do your thing. And I think that type of for the mental aspect for McAvoy would go a long way.
Yeah, I was going to say McAvoy is young. And after seeing a guy like Krug, who did kickstart his career in Boston, leave after everyone, was hoping and somewhat assuming that he was going to re-sign, seeing him leave and go to St. Louis, who, just beat them in the Cup, it would do a lot for McAvoy. I don't know when his contract is up, but it would do a lot to really solidify, like, we want you here. Please don't leave, especially if they do have to enter a rebuild in the next 2 years. Make sure that they can keep him. If they at least informally say, we really want you to be a part of the future of this team, they can say that in a meeting all they want. But if he is like, I want to be successful, they can at least say, we want you to be in a leadership role.
Actions over words, always.
Yeah.
In any professional sport, actions over words. You can tell a player, any professional sport, that they mean a lot to the team and this and that. But if you don't prove it to them and show that like that A for McAvoy, I bet is going to go a lot. I like his attitude. I really do. I think he's going to be a part of this team. I want him to be a part of the Bruins for a long time.
Mhm.
And I like Carlo too. I think I think the development on Carlo has gone a little slower than they'd like, but I like Carlo too, man. I do. I think those two kids have a spot on this team for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so as well. And I think, like you said, actions are louder than words. I have so much anxiety that Pasternak won't stay because they won't be able to make that action to get him to stay.
That commitment to him, right?
Commitment. I mean, I can say the same thing about the Celtics too. Like if they can't get Brown and Tatum to stay, but if you, especially with Pasternak and McAvoy, those guys are going to be the cornerstones of the Bruins in 5 years when Bergeron is gone, when Marchand is no longer, the best left winger in the league. All of that.
See, I think a lot of it too is like, and I'm part of it too. Like I tend to, you don't realize like that window is 2 seasons before it starts to significantly drop off. And
people thought that window was sooner, and they have somehow extended it a year. I think it's a generous 2 years, but if they can really, solidify themselves this year, they can probably extend it another year.
That's what I mean. If they don't like, if they want to win and get Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand a cup, Krejci's in there too. You got to throw him in there. He's part of that.
He's old. He's got to be.
That's what I mean. If you're trying to win with them, you have a 2-season window. This one and next one, and that's a high pressure situation there because there's a lot of young kids on this team, and you're putting. I said it before the season started. We're putting a lot of like a hope and a prayer that these young kids, like Studnicka, Studnicka and Carlo and McAvoy and that core that you can that they're going to develop. Like you're putting a lot of faith in those kids and it's pressure too. It's pressure on them too. And I'm sure they feel it, when they lose and they know this, they must know the stakes.
Yeah. I mean, they have to know the stakes, especially because Cassidy is doing a lot of line tinkering within the roster and with the taxi squad, especially on defense. He didn't start Clifton on the active roster, and that must have, made a pretty big impact on Clifton after playing pretty consistently on the active roster within the last 2 playoff runs.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very interesting season to watch. It definitely is, because Cassidy, I still think, like you just said, it's probably going to take him 20 games to really get a feel of who fits where. And the big question out there is like, one, what's the record going to be in 20, when we're 20 games in?
Yeah.
And another thing that really worries me too is they've got to stay healthy. They can't afford to lose guys like they have been the last couple of seasons where they've lost key, cornerstone pieces for 2 weeks at a time because of, soft tissue issues. Especially in a season like this where there's a shortened season, they can't afford that. And you add in the young core, all these factors together, they have got to stay healthy.
Yeah, especially like you said, in the shortened season, they can't afford to lose. They have already dropped more games than they should have in this period, especially to remain competitive. I don't know after last night's loss where they landed in the top 4 of the East, but if they keep, giving away points and losing games that they need to be winning, especially to the ones that are going to be in the top 4, assumingly going into the playoffs, it's not going to look good in 20 games. It's going to be, they can't be playing catch up because they're not good at playing catch up.
They're just not built to. The team's not. That's why, and just like that. That's a good point too. And every game you see how they are not good when they it's a Herculean effort to come back from a 2-goal deficit for this team. Herculean effort. They play much better when they score early, first 10 minutes of the first period, if they can get an early goal, that momentum gets them going and they play better. And they're just not built as a team they just don't have that intestinal fortitude and, mental ability to fight, like they need to fight from playing down all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare how they played against the Penguins last Thursday to like the second period last night, it is absolutely night and day in terms of the confidence on the ice and the chemistry between the roster, because they were able to gain the lead quickly and maintain it against the Penguins versus how they played against the Capitals. As soon as they lost it, the young guys immediately looked toward the top line and said, "Oh, like, get us back in this game, like, help us."
And even Cassidy too. Even as the coach, he'll he knows he can't really go anywhere else, so he's got to lean on him. He has to. Yeah,
and that's going to be really frustrating for, like you said earlier, that top line when they get to later in the season and they're like, "Well, get us some help. Get us. We can't do it all ourselves."
Come here. Oh, this is the official mascot of this channel.
Yeah, my dog was just moving around back there.
I know. I saw the tail in the background.
What's up, cutie? How do you feel about the Bruins right now?
This is my 19.5-pound cat named Diesel.
It's a fitting name.
Oh, he's huge. He's a tank. He was just chewing on my leg. Nice. Back to sleep. They have such a tough life.
Oh, I wish I was a dog.
But it's so let's look forward. Where do you think they'll sit at the end of the season? Where do you think they'll end up sitting at the end of the year?
I think they can reasonably expect probably third. I think that the Capitals will probably maintain the top slot. I think they're the biggest competition in the East. That's what Dale Arnold said in our interview as well, and I think he's probably right. Like I said, the Capitals look great right now, and they don't have their second goalie. They didn't have Ovechkin until last night. They were missing Orlov, and they're missing Kuznetsov as well, unless he came back last night.
I think he came back last night, right?
Yeah, so we'll see again on Monday how they look. Maybe they'll have Orlov back. Maybe they'll have Samsonov back. But if I were the Capitals, I would keep Vanacek in. He looks great.
Yeah. Oh no, roll with the hot hand, man. You have to.
And then, I mean, I don't think you can reasonably say. I don't think you can confidently say that the second slot is the Bruins right now, because they're playing so comparably to the Flyers and the Islanders. The Penguins don't look that great. I mean, I think they're probably a fourth slot potentially. I'm willing to say that the Penguins and the Islanders will probably duke it out for that last slot. The second and third will probably be between the Islanders and the Bruins. I would put them third or fourth, depending on the thing that worries me with the Bees is they get about 25 games into this thing and they gas out. 25 to 30 games in, and they hit that midseason wall, which they tend to do a lot because they can't afford to, like, they have got to. And before, when they had a lot of these, when they had a lot of those, when they were, when they had like, Thornton and a lot of those guys, prior to this generation, they were able to push through that wall and really, they were built a lot better to deal with that wall. In the last couple seasons, it's shown in the middle of the season, they hit that wall for about 2 weeks, where it really does. It hurts. It's hurt them a lot. The last like 3 seasons, they've hit that midseason wall, and they just haven't had the ability to push through it. And they hit that 4-game skid, and they just can't. It's a tailspin, and they just. Yeah. And I think part of it is that the Capitals don't typically hit a wall like that. And the Flyers typically trend up, not down, in terms of consistency. I think right now the Flyers are kind of trending down, and if they're trending down now, they're not going to trend down later.
They're too good of a team. They won't be in a tailspin forever.
Yeah, and I think the other concern for the Bruins is that some of those lower teams that we just assume that the bad teams in the East are not bad like other leagues' bad teams, other divisions' bad teams are. The Devils are not as bad as everyone expected them to be. Their goaltending looks fantastic. Jack Hughes put on 20 pounds. They don't look as bad as say the bad teams in the Central Division, the Red Wings, all of those guys that are just taking up space in the division and handing wins to the other teams.
Yeah. I had the Devils as one of my sleeper teams at the beginning of the year because I think they can clip somebody if they get underestimated.
I think they are. They're clipping. They handed the Flyers a loss. They handed us a loss. They're just chipping away at each one of these top teams, and we're gonna get 20 games in, and we're gonna be like, well, crap,
No, they're one of those teams where if you underestimate it, they can absolutely come out and beat you in a game. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the Sabres aren't awful. The Rangers are bad. The Rangers are bad. But the Sabres aren't awful either. They have all the keys to be successful, and I think it's just in terms of, playing them right and getting chemistry on the ice. But they handed was it the Flyers? I believe they handed the Flyers a loss too.
I think so. Yes. I think so. Yeah. Like we talked about it earlier. The division, the realignment of the divisions is I think adds a lot into like contender pretender kind of talks because it's like, all right, like who are you playing on a nightly basis compared to some of these other divisions?
Yeah. Well, yeah, everyone keeps arguing to me that the Blue Jackets are fantastic, and I'm like, in what world are the Blue Jackets fantastic?
They play 500 teams. Maybe a little over that mark on a nightly basis. So it's like, look at some of these other divisions. Look at the division the Bruins are in. Any of those teams, like all of those teams are going to make the playoffs. All of them, more than likely.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to watch. That's what I'm going to have to say. And do they have a shot this year? I think they do. They do. They have to avoid teams like Tampa Bay and the Capitals at all costs until the last possible moment.
Yeah.
They have to do everything they can to avoid those teams. And that if that means trying to sit in that 3 slot the whole time, so they don't have to get, so they're not getting a matchup, that
seating themselves.
But that would be, at least for me, that would be if I was, try and sit in that 2-3 spot, or maybe, just avoid Washington and avoid, Tampa Bay at all costs if you can.
Yeah, I think one thing to note there, I think Monday's game is going to be really big for their morale. If they can win on Monday, that'll do a lot for their momentum going into the rest of the week, in the coming weeks. If they take 2 losses to the Capitals, it's going to do a lot negatively for them in terms of where they stand. Yeah, where they think they stand, how they're doing, especially because Pastrnak just came back, so they were all hyped up. And then if they go in and they lose both games against both the quote unquote top team in the East and Chara, it's going to do a ton for them, mentally, and trying to get that momentum back. It's going to be really difficult. We're probably going to take another loss that we don't need after that.
Yeah, it was good to see Pastrnak back on the ice last. It was good to see him back on the ice, but the rust was clearly there.
Yeah.
It's going to take him. It's going to take him probably 4 or 5 games to get his legs back underneath him, his shot back on it. It's going to take him, but just having, even if he's not playing, I would rather have him on the ice, even as a decoy. Even as a decoy, the other team still has to respect that shot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as long as he's there, it is a form of stability for the rest of that young roster, for them to know that he's back, even though he is young himself. But a consistent shooter is back on the ice, and that, a little bit of the pressure is taken off of them in terms of getting shots on goal. They were plowing shots on goal against the Capitals and just weren't getting a lucky shot until later in the game.
It's and you know what too? It's like it's almost like they know they just have to throw pucks on net because their 5-on-5 scoring hasn't been good. Because every time they even have a lane, it's even if it's a half-hearted wrist, you know how many half-hearted wrist shots I've seen on goal where it's not even, there's no velocity to it whatsoever, and it's just like this little flick at the net, and it's
there was like a really great drive by the top line last night, and I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity, and it was like the most half-hearted shot from either Bergeron or Marchand, and I was like, what on earth? Like, what?
Yeah, it's almost like they know. It's almost like they know, because like these little flicks again, like that's like Pee Wee hockey to those goalies. It's like that little flick on net, that little wrist shot on net is nothing to them. That's not going to do. That does no good.
Just boost their statistics. Like, oh, they made another save.
And well, the thing with that is the puck doesn't. There's no velocity, so it doesn't come off the pad. So what's the goalie do? He just puts his glove down on it and stops play. Like they've. At least with the if there's some velocity on it, you get an opportunity with a ricochet, because it comes off the pad with some.
Bruins are looking for is just more bounces.
They have got to, they have got to get that 5-on-5 figured out, how to and get some better looks. And I do think that's gonna, now that we have Pastrnak back, that's gonna cause them, because a lot of those teams, they just back off. They get that they get a 2-1 lead, and you see they back way off of that. Like, it's almost like they know we could just play keep away in defense and win this game 2-1.
Yeah, and I think hopefully once we get past the Capitals on Monday, playing the Flyers next week, we can keep the momentum going and maybe take advantage of the Flyers, who have been a little inconsistent.
Yeah,
this week, but. Not if the Bruins are going to be inconsistent also, and then it's just going to be a toss-up.
Yeah. I will say this. I am encouraged that the organization is embracing the youth movement. They're letting these young kids take responsibility high responsibility roles, like McAvoy, they gave him an opportunity. They're giving these kids high responsibility roles to, within the team and within the, to try and boost morale and get them confident. And that is encouraging to see, because it's the organization trying to get youthful, and they're trying to roll with how the NHL is trending. And you have to let these young kids get an opportunity, I know they're afraid of it. I really do. The organization is scared to death about letting these young kids kind of try and take over, because I think that they don't even know what they have in them,
But the Bruins haven't been a young team in a long time. So for them to hand the reins over from Chara to a 20-year-old is like not sitting right with Cam.
Yeah, for an organization, that's not like it, that's not something easy to do, and it's encouraging in that aspect of it, where they're embracing it, they're giving them a shot, and it's like, okay, we'll see what you can do, and that's the way the league's trending. The defense, the kind of big enforcer kind of hockey guys, or the Charas, the guys that play that enforcer role are kind of disappearing. Like Tampa Bay, I hate to keep going back to them because they're one of our biggest rivals. I hate that, right? But their guys are a great mix of size, physicality, and shooting. They're a great, the whole team, from defense, offense. Any one of those guys has enough size to throw their weight around if they need to, but they can all shoot too. They're all, they might not all have great shots, but it's a shot that's a threat.
It's not the dinky shot that the Bruins are putting on the net right now. I think the same can be said about the Capitals as well. They've got a really good balance of enforcers, and Tom Wilson is one of the only, like you said, classic enforcers. He's freaking annoying, but he is a classic enforcer, and he throws his body around and he picks fights, and it's one of the only guys that still does that the classic way that you saw in the NHL a decade ago. But they still have Ovechkin, they still have all of those guys that will drill really great shots on net while keeping a consistent defense and getting back.
Like the 2011 Bruins, that's how they won that cup, was they literally just beat teams into submission. They literally just beat them into submission. They played that physical, hard-nosed, just beat the ever-living snot out of you the whole game, and that's how that run went. They wore you out. They literally just wore the energy right out of your team, and you had nothing left, and they were still, 65, 70%, go. That's how they won that cup. And it's just, the league has changed. The league has gotten smaller and it's gotten faster, and there's a focus on the skill guys now. It's a shift.
Yeah.
Like the age of the big bad Bruins has shifted. I mean, a lot of these guys that are smaller still know how to throw their, like McAvoy can I've seen him. I mean, he's not the biggest dude, but I've seen him lay some guy. Huh?
I said he's pretty small. I think he's only like 5'8" or 9.
But I've seen him throw his weight around. Like, I've seen him deliver some big time hits behind the net when he needs to throw his weight around. They know how to do it. They know how to do it.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see if this trend sticks in the next. They're at a skill trend right now, and if in 5 years that's still consistent, or if the same way that the enforcer trend is kind of dying out, if we move on to something else, if we go back to the enforcer trend, or if we're kind of going, to something else later.
Because if you look at the last couple of seasons, the cup winners have been these guys with speed and skill.
Yeah.
Speed and skill, and not so much really the size. I mean, you can take St. Louis had a lot of those kind of like bigger bodied defensemen, but even like outside of them, it's the league is, I think it's just on a trend where it's gone smaller. Yeah,
I completely agree.
But either way, it's definitely going to be an interesting season to watch. There's encouraging things to see from the Bruins. They've shown a lot. Like, I do like what I am seeing from a lot of those guys. I think McAvoy is going to be a part of this organization for a long time. At least I hope. I hope he is. Bergie having the captain role is huge. That move was much needed. He's been the heart and soul of this team for a long time now. I mean, along with Chara, but it's just like the guy's just been a true like soldier team for forever. So it was well deserved. And I like I said, I think there's a lot of potential there in that young core. If they can develop them the right way and they can get them playing together, there's definitely a lot of potential there for them to be good for a while, and kind of, hopefully, cross your fingers, avoid that full rebuild mode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's a lot of potential to avoid that rebuild. Like you said, I'm excited to watch how they turn out. I think part of me is overreacting about a couple of these things, but what would we be if we didn't overreact as Bruins fans and stress as game by game?
It's kind of a given. It's a Massachusetts thing,
right? Exactly.
True fanatics of the team.
Yes.
But thanks again, Shannon, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thanks for everyone that checked.
So where can they find you guys? Your podcast. Tell them about that. Yep. Where can they find you guys?
Find Slapshot Sweethearts. Actually, my co-host Megan, I see, has been active in the comments. So you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We are Slapshot Sweethearts on Instagram and S Sweethearts Pod on Twitter. We are also active on YouTube, as you can see. So please go subscribe to our channel. We are actively trying to build our subscriber base.
If Megan's still in the chat, drop that link for you guys' YouTube channel in the chat.
Yes, Megan, please do that.
If she's still in, I think.
Well, she's commenting about Tom Wilson, so she's probably around. If not, I can do it once we finish up here.
Yeah. Put it in the if she can't drop it in the comments now, put it in the comments. In the comments after the video for sure. But thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate that. And hopefully we can the ship can get righted and we can get another cup run in. We've had a little bit of a championship drought here. No duck boats a while have been going through Boston in a while. So we need to fix that. We need to fix that. I mean, in my lifetime, we've been incredibly lucky here, especially as New England sports fans. I've got to see a lot of winning. And it's hopefully we can get back on that and finish the job this year and get Lord Stanley's Cup coming back to Boston again. That That would be spectacular because they're close. They're real close. They're right on the cusp there of getting another one. And I do want to see that veteran core get one more. I want to see Bergie raise that cup again. I want to see, Bergie and Marchand and Krejci, they've worked. They've been phenomenal for this organization and they deserve it. So I'm hoping we can get one. But once again, though, Shannon, thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you coming on. And we'll give Megan there another minute, and I'll just to see if she can drop that link in there. If you can, go ahead and do that.
I just did it.
Okay, cool, perfect, excellent. So click on that link, guys. Go in. I will go over there. I'll definitely head over there and give you guys a subscription for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that. We're doing another live stream this week, actually, for a couple of the games. So hopefully we can get some more subscribers over there to check us out while we live stream the Bruins and Flyers, and I believe the Vegas game and the Ducks game, but I'll have to confirm.
Awesome. But once again, I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving me the opportunity and the time. It was a lot of fun, and we will see you guys again on the next episode of Drop the Gloves. Normally we'd be fighting stuff out, but Mom's told me never to hit a lady, so we can't be fighting here. And we're on the same team, so that's another plus. But once again, thanks a lot for stopping by.
Yes, thank you again. I don't know why the link isn't working. I'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, I'll search it down and put it in the comments and definitely pin it up there for you guys. But once again, thanks a lot, Shannon. I appreciate the time. It was a lot of fun, and go Bruins as always.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode. And we're gone.